Ladies and gentlemen, it appears that Kuro Fest has been more than just a bragging right for some English content creators. It turns out that there has been an awesome interview that Solon Lee has conducted. And what I wanted to do today was actually go over a translated version of that interview provided by Narushio and actually break down all of the intricacies that are in it, and talk a little bit about the future of the title. This is going to involve both Wuthering Waves as well as Punishing Gray Raven. We'll try to keep it a little bit shorter on the PGR parts and focus a bit more on Wuwa because, well, you kind of know, PGR is a bit of a smaller game in retrospect, but there's some historical significance over there. Let's just go ahead, get right on into it, read a little bit of this out, and then maybe bring up some references in-game or through some other resources to help guide the discussion. Exclusive interview with Kuro CEO Solon Lee. Kuro, now with over 2,000 people, still aims to be even sexier. Kuro has grown to over 2,000 people. Hearing Solon say this finally made Grape, the author and the interviewer, realize Kuro is no longer the rising rookie it once was. I think that's pretty fair to say. Before the release of Wuthering Waves, the only game that was really active for Kuro Games was PGR. And it's safe to say, just based off of things like revenue history, Twitch viewers, all of that, YouTube views, PGR was a widely respected game, but PGR wasn't really a game that's going ahead and like dominating the gacha market, right? PGR was a title that for a lot of people was kind of niche. And to this day, even with the DMC collab, it still is a bit niche. I mean, all we really need to do is just go on over to like Twitch Tracker, right? Oh, sorry for showing the dead game. Yeah, you can kind of see what's going on over here. The game doesn't really get that much traction. To have a game like this kind of be like the main revenue stream or like the main one that you got, Kuro wasn't really a household name. So I think like this whole rising rookie thing following the release of Wuwa makes a ton of sense to me. In the past, when we talked about this company, we were mostly telling the story of how a small team rose to prominence. Founded in 2014, Kuro's first product was the 2D anime-style ballistic... Okay, this is basically just like a historical thing. Going through PGR, going through Twin Tail Battlegrounds. There are a couple of videos on it. We don't need to get too much into that. However, during testing, they discovered that to make the core gameplay fully coherent and truly immersive, players had to directly control the characters. And that's what made PGR into 3D action, and that's why Wuwa is probably 3D action. More importantly, PGR validated Kuro's corporate motto, challenge is greatness. Constantly trying to exceed expectations became baked into the team's philosophic or development philosophy, which is kind of clear based off the fact that A, they're implementing quality of life in every single update. And I think the quality of life that manages to impress me the most when it comes to Kuro Games and Wuwa, especially in version 2.5, is the fact that they released this echo management system that has essentially, for a majority of players, streamlined the grinding process for characters, simplified inventory management to such a high degree that it's absolutely mind-blowing that A, it wasn't in there before, and B, they were able to figure out how to implement it in such a seamless way and make it actually so easy to set up for people with like a suggestion thing and like all of that. That to me was them scraping the bottom of the barrel for updates, almost like trying with desperation to think of something to add. And then when they did it, it was absolutely killer. So yeah, that makes a ton of sense to me. The talents, assets, and technical experience from PGR later fueled the launch of the open world action game, Wuthering Waves. Absolutely. Now, we got a bit of a rundown on the Wuwa part. Kuro's expansion with Wuthering Waves. Before and after Wuwa's release, Kuro entered a rapid expansion phase. Even during Wuwa's development, the project team exceeded 500 people, but that still wasn't enough for such a large-scale game. Solon revealed that the flight system took a full year to make, and the entire 2.0 update had been in preparation since the beta stage. And that really calls into light a lot of like the theories talking about why Wuthering Waves had such a rough launch. It actually turned out that they were planning on implementing Rinascita, flight, and all of this stuff in the launch version of the game. But due to like delays, all of that, having to reallocate development pipelines, Rinascita was delayed until 2.0, and that's why 2.0 launched so early in the game's life cycle. That's why it launched in January of this year, when the game had only launched in May of the prior year. because it was actually in the original vision for 1.0. And in the end, version 2.0 and the updates that followed delivered more content than players expected, breaking Wuwa's single-day revenue records and topping iOS grossing rankings, proving that Kuro's long-term heavy investment approach was correct. So yes, 2.0 literally did change everything for Wuthering Waves. Literally everything. The 2.4 update for Cartithia's character banner pushed Wuwa's grossing rank to new highs. And now that Wuwa's entered a stable growth phase, Kuro has officially embraced a multi-product parallel development model. Boy, oh boy. You can see over here, there's quite a bit going on. And there's like a lot of like context for the stuff moving forward. We've gotten all the background. We've gotten all of like the path forward. Let's get on into the actual interview itself with Solon. So Grape is going to be the interviewer over here. He's going to come in with some questions. Let's see what the answers from Solon are looking like. Why did you decide to host such a high-spec Kuro Fest this year? Last year's PGR Tea Party left me deeply moved. I felt we needed to give players an even better offline experience. On impulse, I got on stage and told them I'd bring them the best experience possible. I think that what this means is that Solon's speech in front of like that large crowd of individuals at Kuro Fest, right? The one that's been like uploaded, shown numerous times, that was actually impromptu. That appears it was not planned. It was just something that he decided to do at the heat of the moment. But what does best mean? We first had to lock in for a better offline event on schedule. By then, Wuwa had already launched, so we decided to combine both games into one grand fest. One of Kuro's biggest goals for the year, and after more than a year of prep, it's finally here, and it might still have flaws, but I believe everyone, especially players, can feel the progress we've made. Solid stuff. So I think it really just means that, like, Kuro Fest was kind of something that, in a lot of ways, it feels like it was kind of thrown together in, like, the last couple of moments. Something that didn't have as much prep as they possibly could have, but the opportunity just arose, and they kind of pounced on it. And so I can imagine that's why there were a couple of, like, hitches with how it actually went down. That's why there are still some complaints being made by some CCs who, you know, some of them were able to do things while others weren't. A lot to iron out, and will probably be better next year. Why has Kuro been investing so much in offline events in recent years? We have a shared understanding. Offline events are essentially an extension of game content. They make the games tangible in the real world. Oh, parasocialism, I see. We'll keep doing this, aiming to give players a rich crossover between online and offline, not just formulaic updates. Next year, we'll hold a large-scale offline events again, but the format will depend on our fest review. I'm sure there will be something fresh. So, yeah, it's still in the works. It's still, basically, Kuro Fest is in, like, its open beta at this point, and there probably is going to be a lot of updates that they're going to make to it down the line. Is your confidence in offline investment related to the state of your products? Yes, PGR just launched its PC version and completed a Devil May Cry 5 collab. For its 6th anniversary, we'll implement global same version sync. I think this has already happened. This will open up fresh possibilities for release strategy and game content, and our team already has lots of new ideas. So, yeah, this is basically just like an admission to PGR players. Hey, we're not giving up on the game just because we have our cash cow now with Wuthering Waves. We're still going to be coming out with more and more innovative things in the, you know, kind of like the baby game that was able to make all this stuff happen. Wuwa, as a young product entering its 2nd year, is in a rapid growth phase. The CEO himself is telling you that the game is in a rapid growth phase. We've already mapped out 4 to 5 years of long-term plans for it. As long as we keep generating ideas and making them real, we're bound to create moments that strike players and surpass their expectations. I think the fact that the CEO is coming in here and telling everybody that they've got about 4 to 5 years in plans, I think that the idea of like EOS doesn't really make much sense with that context. And the CEO himself telling you the game is in a rapid growth phase. Should instill a level of confidence in some players. Why did you dare to greenlight a 3D action project like PGR back then? Back during Twin Tail Battleground, we lacked long-term ops experience and ecosystem maintenance skills. Plus, our 3D skills and preferred gameplay weren't comparable with the okay, I think this one's a little bit too old for me. I'm more interested in the modern stuff. PGR is still lively in its 6th year. What is its core strength? Solon, we wanted to run for 10 plus years. They know the game doesn't actually make that much money. They know that the game kind of is, like, not nearly as popular as other gacha titles, but they're still going ahead with the commitment from the CEO to keep running it for 10 more years. Brother, this is what you call a passion project. This is what you call something where it's just like there's an internal motivation. There's like an internal fire. There's an internal desire within the development team to keep on going. I mean, look at FGO. FGO makes money. Guys, PGR compared to FGO, PGR makes no money in comparison to FGO. That's crazy. And I guess the thing is that it actually shows like a love for the game and a love for the titles that they're creating. And when it's abundantly clear in the actual gameplay, right? When it's abundantly clear in the animation, in the QOL, in like the design of the world, where this is literally the best looking gacha game that exists on the market, I mean, it all checks out, right? It all checks out. I don't think there's much. You could probably reflect the same exact thoughts over here to Wuthering Waves and the effort that's getting put into. Both PGR and Wuwa have some heavy, even tragic stories. Solon, we want depth. Character struggles must make sense so that the payoff is sexy and moving. I think they're referring to like 2.5 and 2.4 probably. Players of these genres want coherent worlds, even if the journey is sad. Watering it down into formulaic, happy endings risks making the IP unappealing. I think this is basically an admission from Kuro Games that for Lova's story, for Lova's tragedy, all of that, it's not going to be a one-off. It's something that's going to be repeatedly happening over and over across the lifetime of the game, and we can expect that more and more stories of that quality, of that caliber, maybe even more story deaths, is something that's going to keep on happening. Oh boy. Why switch to Unreal Engine for Wuwa? After PGR's challenges, we still craved breakthroughs. Always trying to improve. To compete in the market, we needed barriers, early entry into cutting-edge genres. Also, the talent competition was fierce. To attract top talent in Guangzhou, we had to offer sexy projects and tech. And choosing 3D open world and Unreal Engine was the way to get, I guess, the talent that was interested in sexy projects and tech. So yeah, modernization over here, Genshin could never. Grape, Wuwa's production cycles seem long. Yes, character production cycles far exceeded our initial forecasts. We had to choose, stick to the old cycle, or aim for market-surpassing quality. We chose the latter, investing more people and more time. And so I guess the original plan or the original vision for Wuthering Waves was to go ahead and just release 2 characters every single update. 2 new 5-star units every single update, like, other titles like Honkai Star Rail and stuff like that. But due to the immense amount of work that they're putting into things like character animations, so on and so forth, I mean, let's be real here. It probably took a lot of time. It probably took a lot of time to be designing movesets and kits like this in the actual gameplay. And the thing is that they're willing to take a big hit in terms of like their profitability by not releasing 2 characters every single patch, like, other mainstream gacha games. I know a lot of free-to-plays are likely going to be happy with that, right? They'd rather invest more into the quality of the 3D models, of the kit design, all of that, as opposed to just, I guess, milking with every single release. Because that's what certain games in the gacha space feel like. It's undeniable. Honkai Star Rail feels like it's milking you. ZZZ also feels like it's milking you. Genshin, ironically enough, is one of the gacha games that felt like it was milking the least, because they do have very staggered character releases, but then Genshin's milking you even more by making the new characters required to complete any of the content in the game. So it's kind of like, Wuwa kind of stands out over here, where it's like, you get a lot more than what you pay for. And that's kind of nice once you think about it. Because it's not like the characters cost more. The characters actually cost less in Wuwa than they do in other games as well. After Wuwa 2.0, things seemed to accelerate. Solon says, 2.0 had been in prep even before launch, but testing and feedback led us to rework and optimize it over the next 1.5 years. Wow. The faster iteration since then reflects improved processes and an understanding of what attracts players. This makes a lot of sense. Guys, let's be real here, right? 2.0 released, right? And then about 6 months later, they come out with 2.4. And this is what 2.4 looks like. This came out literally 5 to 6 months after 2.0 with its massive map expansion. What game has had this degree of like a world expansion, right? In just 6 months, where they have this. I'm not even out of the city yet, brother. I'm still in the city. They got this going on right after they just released this, that, and all of this. It almost doesn't make sense how much has started getting pumped out. And there's a new area that is coming in version 2.6. Oh, I forgot to even mention this, guys. After 2.4, they had another map expansion. So it's like, you would imagine after one of the biggest map expansions the game has had, there wouldn't be another one in the next update, but there just is. Obviously, this is a bit more of an instant zone, but I don't think anyone was expecting a new actual playable area in version 2.5 following the massive expansion we just had in 2.4. The only patch in the 2.0 cycle that hasn't had a big map expansion, I think, was actually 2.3. And that came with its own unique tile set with like a Bowser's Castle and everything. So there was like always something that was coming in terms of development. So yeah, the faster iteration, we can definitely see it. For a long-term operation, you must deliver beyond expectations. And I guess this is the thing. This is the issue and this is the struggle. People are now consistently going to expect a really, really high output from Kuro Games and Wuthering Waves in the future. And I think I've seen some videos by CCs indicating that this is actually one of the biggest struggles that Kuro can actually have. Because they've set expectations so high, and they're so much higher than like the dog shit standards that have been perpetuated in the space by companies like Hoyoverse. And now it's just like, it's going to be bad if there's a patch where it does feel like there's still not that much content. Because right now, people are critiquing 2.5 for like its lack of events, even when it's still following up with a map expansion following version 2.4. So it's sort of just like, there will never be enough because the standards keep getting raised, and you can't really be at a spot where you like lower the standards after you've already raised them this high. It's one of like the worst ways, right, that customers can perceive an update. So it is like a double-edged sword what Kuro's doing over here. They just got to keep up the output. How do you maintain quality while running high output? The best method is shared values and like-minded people. Process optimization alone can't replace team synergy. You want to know what this makes me think now? This makes me think that the internal teams over at Genshin, HSR, and ZZZ have no idea what they're doing. Where it's like they need to have updates where like the game is like literally filler with all of these additional resources, and they need to have like all these updates where there's literally nothing in the patch, like that stupid fucking Mizuki patch, right? Like right in the middle of everything. It's just like, I don't know. Is this basically just an admission that like other companies don't have the process optimization? They don't have the stuff like that? If so, that's a bit of shade, but hey, it's pretty funny. Why focus on 3 minutes of high quality experience? It's intuitive. Even if players only log in for 3 minutes a day, those minutes should feel great. This builds lasting affection and sustains a game for 5, 10, even 20 years. Guys, don't let Ryuku-sensei see this. Ryuku-sensei is still telling you to this day, you should be like it's good to be able to infinitely farm echoes. It's good to infinitely farm all of these resources and stuff on the map. When you got the CEO himself telling you he'd rather players just log in for 3 minutes a day and get a lot of value out of it. Ooh, that's rough. Great. Will Wuwa's quality direction include GTA-like elements? Solon Lee, yes. Though perhaps not as people imagine, its world will expand into more sci-fi, modern, and urban themes. Timing is the question. Guys, it looks like Ananta and NTE are fucked. Who cares? Wuthering Waves right now has given me so many different vibes. If you've played any of the stuff in Septimont, you would realize that while you're here in this region, You feel like you're in like a D&D campaign, right? You feel like you're in like a fantasy game. When you were in 1.0, you felt like you were in an apocalyptic game. In 2.0, you feel like you're in a fantasy world. And so it's just like, it seems that like the setting in Wuthering Waves has been established to be like so like loose and so flexible that all these different genres, right? That games will literally base their entire game on. Kuro can just decide to pick and choose what theme a region's gonna have. One's probably gonna be, well, we already kind of have pirates. One's probably gonna be like fucking outer space. One's gonna be like fucking the desert. One's gonna probably be like Dune, right? We're probably gonna have a region that's like Dune. One's gonna be like Atlantis. One's gonna be like Night City and Grand Theft Auto. It's just, the sky is actually the limit for the thematics over here. I guess what Kuro just needs to make sure of is that whatever they make a new version tailored around, they gotta make sure that like the previous audience, right? The people that liked Raguna, that liked the fantasy, they'll still like whatever is implemented further. But the thing is just, hey, you gotta just have some trust in the developers, and they've always over-delivered when it comes to this stuff. So I'm not gonna go ahead and have like a high degree of skepticism when it comes to what they're suggesting over here. Great, from PGR to Woo-Wah. Why always take the hard road? Every test made them feel like entirely new games, not by intent, but because continual feedback and iteration pulled us ever closer to our goals. Positive feedback from improvement fuels our logic, and to do it well, face the challenge head on. Sounds good to me. Challenges also bring pressure. How do you keep morale? This is a good one, because it's no lie at all to say that the launch of Wuthering Waves, all the Doom posting, all of that, hidden among the technical issues, was probably a bit of a rough time. There was a lot of, photos of like the Kuro office lit up at like 1, 2, 3, 4 a.m. at night during the week of its release because of all the stuff that was going on in the back end. If challenges vanish, we'd be more anxious. Challenges bring growth, both in player validation and in upgraded skills. That's more valuable than any management optimization. Our motto, coined by staff, is love players, love the team, love the game. I think we all remember seeing like that. I think as long as you can survive, that's enough, right? Besides that, love yourself along with the players, love the game, and love your own team. I remember seeing this way long ago. It definitely had more pixels and it didn't look like this shitty, but this quote has been top of mind for a lot of people, and it has been around since like Woo-Wah was like in its early release. And to see it kind of like reiterated still a year later, I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of crazy. Paired with fair rewards like company-wide bonuses during Woo-Wah's milestones, this sustains competitiveness. And so, yeah, I guess the Kuro staff is also having a pretty fun time as well with the success that the game is seeing. So yeah, what's Kuro's team size now? We already know it's over 2,000. Project Nami status. Early to mid-development, not yet ready for public release. We wanted to break our comfort zone. An action game so exciting that players scream. Distinct from our past works. Okay. Sounds a little competitive to me. Sounds like it's going to be a competitive action game to me. Because guess what drives the most emotions, ladies and gentlemen? Guess what causes players to scream the most during gaming? Getting fucked over by lag or getting skill issued. That's how it works. So, yeah, this looks like it is going to actually be multiplayer. After 11 years, how would you define Kuro's temperament? We don't like boxing ourselves in. Our culture is challenge is greatness. We want players to feel Kuro is a growing company, climbing mountains and witnessing better. And I guess, brother, man, I love how my, like, response to hearing some of these quotes is to, like, literally just open up the game and then just take a look at it. Because there's a reason why this game has such a draw to people when they, like, initially just give it, like, a bit of a play. They look at some of the gameplay. I think that for a lot of players that are currently in it, or that have been playing Woo-Wah since launch, or, like, playing it, since 2.0, there's a bit of, there's a bit of an air of, like, being spoiled, right? There's a bit of, like, this dynamic that you're getting used to seeing stuff that if, like, other gamers that were familiar with it, or just, like, honestly, just, like, not even, like, gamers as a whole took a look at this stuff, they would be like, holy shit, this looks absolutely nuts. And the thing is that, man, sometimes you gotta take, like, a bit of a step away to be able to, like, really identify the value of things, right? And I would take this as like a bit of a moment in time for a lot of woo-wah players, right, that have a lot of extended playtime, just to kind of like reflect on the actual game that they're playing. Because you can like break it down and view it as like very like mechanical tasks. Oh, I'm going to log in, do like 2 task fields, whatever. Oh, I'm just going to spend all my time upgrading my echoes and doing all of that, or like grinding in the overworld. But man, is this quite the fucking sandbox to be doing all of those things? It's a little bit nuts. And I'm just excited to see where they're going to take this game in the future. Feels like players get that. Like how you kept your Fest promise. That's mutual understanding. So, yeah. I mean, and then we got some cute little pics of Kuro Fest and all the stuff that's going on over here. And of course, the man himself, who's responsible for making all this stuff happen. So, yeah, I would say this seems like an awesome interview over to me. And you can tell that Solon is kind of like a bit of a yapper, but I feel like he's a bit of a yapper in a more of like a one-on-one environment. You can tell that the guy is like super introverted, especially from the way that he was like super awkward during like the actual fest itself. And you're just taking a look at my video where we're like reacting to the speech. Yeah, bro seems like kind of a little bit nervous. And to find out that this entire thing was impromptu, that it wasn't even planned, and he just went up there right before the concert just to kind of hype up the crowd. I mean, hey, you can clearly see a guy outside of his comfort zone, but the guy that we're talking about is clearly super fucking capable. Because where have we seen another company like this take a trajectory like this while still not like succumbing to like the whim of like just being some cash hungry, money grubbing developer that just ruins their game less than a year into launch? It could have been Kuro, but it's not. Really looking forward to what the future holds for this game. I think it's abundantly clear that there's a lot of variety planned. 4 to 5 years of development already planned for Wuthering Waves. No EOS in sight and a rapid growth phase. I think it's a good time to be playing this game, if you haven't already. That'll be that, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all thought about this breakdown, and peace.